The courthouse steps were cold beneath Jake's worn boots as he clutched the crumpled auction notice. $1. That's all it had taken, 2 by 300 acres of Montana wilderness, complete with a dilapidated ranch house that hadn't seen paint in decades. The other bidders had laughed when he raised his hand, but Jake knew something they didn't. Sometimes the best things in life came disguised as disasters. The drive to his new property took 2 hours on winding dirt roads that seemed to lead nowhere. Pine trees stretched endlessly on both sides, their branches heavy with morning mist. Jake's old pickup truck groaned with each pothole, but his spirits remained high. At 32, he was finally going to have something that belonged to him alone. The ranch appeared suddenly around a bend, like a secret the forest had been keeping. The house stood crooked and weathered, its front porch sagging under the weight of years. Tall grass swayed in the breeze, hiding what might have once been a garden. A rusty windmill creaked slowly in the distance, and an old red barn leaned precariously to one side. Jake parked near the front steps and sat for a moment, taking it all in. The silence was profound, broken only by the whisper of wind through the pines and the distant call of a hawk. This was exactly what he had dreamed of during those long years working construction in the city, saving every penny for a chance at something better. He grabbed his duffel bag and toolbox from the truck bed. The front door hung slightly ajar, its wooden frame warped from seasons of rain and snow. Jake pushed it open slowly, and the hinges protested with a long, mournful creak. The interior was dim and musty, filled with the scent of old wood and forgotten time. Dust motes danced in the shafts of sunlight that streamed through grimy windows. The floorboards groaned beneath his feet as he explored the front room, noting the stone fireplace and the faded wallpaper that peeled at the edges like old skin. That's when he heard it. A soft sound, almost like breathing, coming from somewhere deeper in the house. Jake froze, his heart quickening. The auction papers had mentioned the property was vacant, abandoned for years after the previous owner died. He listened carefully, but the sound had stopped. Probably just the house settling, he told himself. Old places made all kinds of noises. He set his bags down and continued exploring. The kitchen was small but functional, with an ancient cast stove and a pump-handle sink. Upstairs, he found 3 bedrooms, their windows clouded with age. He chose the one facing east, imagining how the sunrise would look over the mountains. As evening approached, Jake built a small fire in the living room fireplace and opened a can of beans for dinner. The flames cast dancing shadows on the walls, and the old house seemed to sigh and settle around him like a comfortable blanket. This was home now, he realized, the first real home he'd ever owned. But just as he was drifting off to sleep on his makeshift bed of sleeping bags, he heard it again. Footsteps, soft and careful, moving across the floor below. Jake's eyes snapped open. There was definitely someone in the house. He grabbed the flashlight from his bedside and crept down the stairs, each step carefully placed to minimize the creaking. The beam of light swept across the empty living room, revealing nothing but shadows and dust. But as he moved toward the kitchen, he saw her. A young woman stood frozen by the back door, her eyes wide with fear in the flashlight's glare. She was perhaps 25, with long brown hair and clothes that looked like they'd seen better days. In her hands, she clutched a small canvas bag. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'll leave, I'm sorry." Jake lowered the flashlight, his heart still racing. "Wait, don't go. I'm not going to hurt you." The woman hesitated, her body tensed for flight. "You own this place now, don't you? I heard about the auction." "Yeah, I do. But who are you? How long have you been here?" She took a shaky breath. "My name is Sarah Mitchell. I've been living here for about 6 months." The old man who owned this place, Henry Morrison, he was my grandfather. Jake set the flashlight on the kitchen counter, its beam pointing toward the ceiling and casting a softer glow. "Your grandfather," but the auction papers said he had no living relatives. Sarah's laugh was bitter and sad. "That's because he disowned my mother when she was 18. She fell in love with someone he didn't approve of, and he cut her out of his life completely. I never even knew I had a grandfather until after my mother died last year. I found some old letters in her things." She wrapped her arms around herself, as if trying to hold herself together. "I came here hoping to connect with the only family I had left, but Henry had already passed away. The neighbors said the bank was going to auction the place. I had nowhere else to go, so I just stayed. I've been living in the root cellar, out back, coming into the house only when I needed to." Jake felt his chest tighten with unexpected emotion. Here was someone even more lost than he was, someone who had been looking for a home just as desperately as he had. "You've been living in a root cellar for 6 months, he asked gently. Sarah nodded, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "I know I'm trespassing. I know I have no right to be here. I'll pack my things and go." "No," Jake said quickly. "Don't go. Not yet." They stood in the kitchen's soft light, 2 strangers brought together by circumstance and loneliness. Jake studied Sarah's face, seeing the exhaustion and hope warring there. She had the same strong jawline as the old photographs he'd found, scattered around the house, the same determined eyes, This was your family's place, he said finally. That has to mean something. But you bought it fair and square. I can't just, Sarah, Jake interrupted her gently. I bought this place for $1 because nobody else wanted it. The roof leaks, the foundation is cracked, and half the boards are rotted through. I was planning to spend the next 2 years fixing it up all by myself. But the truth is, I don't know the first thing about ranch life. I'm a city guy who got tired of concrete and noise. He paused, an idea beginning to form. What if we helped each other? You know this place, and I have money to fix it up. We could be partners. Sarah stared at him in disbelief. Partners, I'll need help learning how to manage the land, how to work with the seasons out here. And this house is big enough for 2 people. We could split it down the middle, fix it up together, make it into something your grandfather would have been proud of. The silence stretched between them, filled with possibility and uncertainty. Sarah wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. You'd do that? For someone you just met? Jake smiled, feeling more certain than he had in years. Sometimes the best decisions are the ones that don't make logical sense. I bought this place on a whim, and look what happened. I found exactly what I was looking for, and maybe you did too. Sarah looked around the kitchen, seeing it not as it was, but as it could be. My mother used to tell me stories about this place, how her father made the best apple pie in the county, how the garden was always full of vegetables and flowers. I always dreamed of seeing it like that. Then let's make it happen, Jake said, together. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows and making the old house creak and settle. But inside, for the first time in months, both Jake and Sarah felt the warmth of belonging. They had each come to this place looking for something different, but they had found something better than either had imagined: a home, a partner, a chance to build something beautiful from the broken pieces of the past. As the fire in the living room burned down to glowing embers, they sat at the kitchen table and began to plan their future. 2 lost souls who had found their way to exactly where they needed to be.